Please, sir, could I sleep in your garage? 8 words from an 8-year-old girl standing in the rain would shatter everything Michael Brenner thought he knew about family, about loss, and about the moment when a stranger becomes someone you can't imagine living without. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tuning in from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. The knock was barely audible over the rain hammering against the metal roof. Michael almost ignored it, thinking it was just another branch hitting the door. But then it came again. Soft, hesitant, desperate. He opened the side door of his garage, and his heart nearly stopped. A tiny girl stood shivering in the doorway. Her clothes were completely soaked through, clinging to her small frame. She clutched a teddy bear that was missing one eye, holding it like it was the only thing keeping her anchored to this world. Her blonde hair was matted to her head, and her lips had a blue tinge that made Michael's stomach drop. "Please, sir, can I sleep in your garage?" Her voice was so small he had to lean down to hear her. "I won't make any noise, I promise." Michael's knees hit the wet concrete before he even realized he was kneeling. "Sweetheart, where are your parents?" The little girl's bottom lip trembled. A single tear mixed with the raindrops on her cheek. "My mama. She told me to wait by the gas station. She said she'd come right back." "When?" Michael's voice came out rougher than he intended. "When did she tell you to wait?" "Yesterday morning."
Michael pulled off his work jacket without thinking, wrapping it around shoulders that couldn't have been wider than his forearm. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Ruby?" She whispered it like she wasn't sure she was allowed to tell him. "Ruby, I'm Michael. And you're not sleeping in any garage, okay? You're coming inside, where it's warm." But Ruby pulled back, fear flashing across her face.
"No, Mama said, if the authorities find me alone, they'll take me away forever. She said to hide from adults. But I saw your garage, but your garage has a smiley face sticker on the door. My teacher put smiley faces on good papers, so I thought maybe you were good."
Michael looked at the weathered sticker, his throat tightening. That sticker. His daughter Selena had put it there last year, insisting the garage needed to smile. Now this little girl had gambled her safety on a faded piece of yellow plastic. "Ruby, listen to me." He kept his voice gentle but firm. "I have a daughter about your age. Her name is Selena. She's sleeping upstairs right now, safe and warm. That's where you should be too, not in a garage."
"All day. I had $5, but I bought some crackers yesterday. I've been walking since this morning. I tried to stay away from people like Mama said, but a man yelled at me behind the restaurant this morning, and I got scared, and I just kept walking, and then I saw your light on." Michael made a decision that would later leave everyone stunned. But first, he needed help. "Ruby, I'm going to call my neighbor Mrs. Dorothy. She's like a grandma. She makes the best cookies in Ohio. Would that be okay?" Ruby nodded slightly, still shivering despite his jacket drowning her small frame. Within minutes, Dorothy Kowalski was bustling through the door, her gray hair still in curlers, her face a mask of grandmotherly concern that immediately seemed to calm Ruby. The 70-year-old retired social worker took one look at the situation and understood everything. "Oh, sweet girl," Dorothy murmured, immediately taking charge. "Let's get you out of those wet clothes. Michael, call Jerome." Officer Jerome Washington. He knew Michael from coaching basketball together. More importantly, he knew how to handle situations like this with care instead of chaos. But first, Michael did something else. He went upstairs and gently woke his 7-year-old daughter. "Selena, sweetheart, I need you to do something really important." Selena rubbed her eyes, confused. "Daddy, what's wrong?" "There's a little girl downstairs who needs our help. She's scared and cold. Can you pick out some warm pajamas for her? Maybe the purple ones with the unicorns." Selena was fully awake now. "Is she okay? Why is she here at night?" "She got lost from her mom. We're going to help her, okay?" Selena jumped out of bed with the determination only a 7-year-old on a mission could have. She didn't just grab pajamas, she grabbed her favorite stuffed unicorn, the one she'd slept with every night since her mother had died 2 years ago.
She can borrow Princess Sparkle for the bad dreams. Downstairs, Dorothy had somehow gotten her to start talking, and the story that emerged made Michael's hands clench into fists. Her mother, Angela, had been acting strange for months. Sometimes she'd be gone for days. Sometimes she'd cry for hours. They'd been living in their cars since summer. 2 days ago, Angela had driven to a gas station, given Ruby $5, and told her to wait by the door.
She said she was getting help, Ruby whispered. She said she'd be right back. I waited all day. I slept behind the dumpster because it blocked the wind. But this morning she still wasn't there, and the gas station man said I had to leave. So you walked, Dorothy said gently. I remembered seeing houses this way when Mama drove. I thought maybe I could find somewhere to hide until she came back. Michael stepped outside to call Jerome, his hands shaking with rage and heartbreak in equal measure. A mother had abandoned her 8-year-old daughter, left her with $5 and a promise that was a lie. When he came back in, Selena had appeared with an armful of clothes and toys. She walked right up to Ruby with the confidence of a child who hadn't yet learned to be awkward around strangers. Hi, I'm Selena. This is Princess Sparkle. She's magic. She eats bad dreams. You can borrow her tonight. Ruby looked at the stuffed unicorn like she'd been handed a treasure. Really? Really. And look, we're almost the same size. These pajamas are super soft. They have unicorns on them, too. Do you like unicorns? Ruby nodded, the first tiny smile crossing her face. Jerome arrived 20 minutes later, not with sirens and lights, but quietly, entering through the garage so as not to scare Ruby. He was a large man who could make himself seem small when he needed to, and right now he needed to. Hi, Ruby. I'm Officer Jerome. I'm friends with Mr. Michael. We coach basketball together. I heard you've had a really tough couple of days. Ruby pressed herself closer to Dorothy, but she nodded. I need to find out about your mom so we can help her too, okay? Can you tell me her whole name? Angela Marie Summers. Jerome made some calls while Michael heated up leftover soup. What he discovered over the next hour changed everything. Angela had been picked up that afternoon in a hospital parking lot 2 towns over. She'd overdosed and was currently stable but facing charges for child abandonment. There was no father in the picture. Ruby's dad had died in a construction accident when she was 3. They'd been living in their car for 6 months, moving from place to place. She has no other family, Jerome said quietly to Michael and Dorothy, while Ruby ate soup in the kitchen, with Selena chattering beside her. The system's overwhelmed. The only available emergency placement is in a group home 2 hours away. Michael looked through the doorway at Ruby, who had fallen asleep mid-spoonful, her head on the table, Selena patting her back gently. What if she stays here tonight? Jerome shook his head. There are procedures. I know there are procedures. Michael cut him off. But look at her. She's been through enough. Can't the procedures wait until morning? Dorothy spoke up. I am a licensed social worker, retired, but my credentials are still valid. If I stay the night for supervision... Jerome made a call to his supervisor, another to Child Services. After 40 minutes of back and forth, he hung up with a slight smile. One night, Dorothy stays for supervision. First thing tomorrow morning, we start the official process. But morning brought unexpected news. Angela, from her hospital bed, had made a decision. Recognizing she couldn't care for Ruby while battling her addiction, she wanted to voluntarily terminate her parental rights. But with a condition. She wanted Ruby placed with the kind man with the garage. The social worker who came to assess the situation was skeptical at first. Mr. Brenner, you're a single father. You work full-time. What makes you think you can handle another child, especially one with trauma? Before Michael could answer, Angela piped up from where she was teaching Ruby a card game. Because he's the best daddy ever. He reads stories with voices, and he makes pancakes shaped like hearts, and when I have bad dreams about Mommy, he stays with me until I fall back asleep. The social worker made notes, lots of notes. What happened next stunned everyone. The background check on Michael revealed something extraordinary. For the past 3 years, ever since his wife Lauren had died from a brain aneurysm that took her in less than 12 hours, Michael had been quietly helping struggling families all over town.
Mrs. Chen, from 2 blocks over, tearfully explained how Michael had fixed her car for free when she couldn't afford repairs, knowing she needed it to get to her dialysis appointments. Tom Bradley, a single dad himself, talked about how Michael had taught his son to ride a bike when Tom was working 3 jobs to make ends meet. The principal at Selena's school revealed that Michael anonymously paid for lunches for kids who couldn't afford them. Even the owner of the local grocery store had a story. Michael noticed one of my employees living in her car with her kids. He didn't make a fuss. He just quietly organized the whole neighborhood to help. Within a week, she had an apartment, furniture, and a support system. The social worker had never seen anything like it. "Mr. Brenner, why didn't you mention any of this?" Michael shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. "Because that's not why I want to help Ruby. I want to help her because she knocked on my door thinking a garage was good enough for her. No child should think that. Ever." The foster approval process, which typically took months, was expedited. Within 3 weeks, Michael was granted emergency foster status. But he went further. He immediately began the adoption process. The story had spread through Millbrook like wildfire. Not sensationalized, but the truth was powerful enough. The little girl who'd asked to sleep in a garage had found more than shelter. She'd found a family. Donations poured in, but Michael redirected everything to a fund for struggling families. The only thing he kept was a handmade quilt from the ladies at Dorothy's church, because Ruby had fallen in love with its purple butterflies. During the adoption proceedings, something extraordinary was revealed. Angela, now in rehabilitation, sent a letter to the court. In shaky handwriting, she explained something that brought the entire courtroom to tears. "The gas station wasn't random," she wrote. "3 weeks before, my car had broken down near that neighborhood. I saw a man teaching his little girl to ride a bike. For 3 hours, he ran beside her, catching her when she fell, celebrating when she succeeded. He never lost patience, never stopped smiling. When I made the horrible decision to leave Ruby, I drove to the gas station closest to his house. I prayed she'd find him. I prayed she'd find the man who could love her the way I couldn't in my sickness."
Ruby had been living with Michael and Selena for 4 months when the final adoption hearing arrived. The courtroom was packed. It seemed like all of Millbrook had come to witness this moment. Dorothy sat in the front row, now officially Grandma Dot to both girls. She'd practically moved in during those first weeks, teaching Ruby to bake cookies, to trust again, to believe she was worthy of love. The judge, typically stern-faced Judge Harrison, seemed to be fighting back emotion as he reviewed the case. "Mr. Brenner, this court has seen many adoption cases, but I've never seen a community rally like this. I have letters here from teachers, coaches, neighbors, even the mail carrier, all speaking to your character and the positive change in both children." He turned to Ruby. "Ruby, do you understand what adoption means?" Ruby nodded, clutching her one-eyed bear, now carefully repaired by Dorothy's patient stitching. "It means Michael becomes my dad for real, and Selena becomes my sister for real, and no one can take me away. Is that what you want?" Ruby's voice was clear and strong for the first time since anyone had met her. "Yes." The judge then turned to Selena. "Selena, how do you feel about Ruby becoming your sister?" Selena stood up, her 7-year-old voice filling the courtroom. "Ruby was already my sister the night she knocked on our door. Family doesn't wait for papers. Family happens when you say you're not alone anymore and mean it." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. But then Ruby asked to say something. The judge, surprised, nodded. She stood up, still small for her age, still clutching her bear, but there was a strength in her now that hadn't been there months ago. "That night, I asked to sleep in a garage because I didn't think I deserved a house. I thought if I made myself small enough, quiet enough, maybe someone would let me stay. Mr. Michael, Dad, he didn't just give me a house. He gave me a home.
He gave me a dad who checks on me 3 times every night to make sure I'm really there. He gave me a sister who shares her toys and her dreams and even her Princess Sparkle. He gave me Grandma Dot, who taught me I'm worthy of love. But mostly, he gave me something I'd never had before. He gave me tomorrow. He gave me the chance to stop surviving and start living.
The judge's voice was thick when he spoke. I've been on this bench for 20 years. I've never heard a more eloquent explanation of what family means. Motion for adoption is granted. Congratulations to the Brenner family. The courtroom erupted in applause. Michael scooped up both girls, Selena on one arm and Ruby on the other. Dorothy wrapped all 3 of them in her arms. Even Jerome, standing in his uniform at the back, wiped his eyes. But the story doesn't end there. 3 years have passed since that rainy November night. Ruby and Selena share a room by choice, though Michael renovated the house to give them each their own space. They chose to stay together. We're sisters, Selena explains to anyone who asks. Why wouldn't we want to be near each other? Ruby is 11 now. She's on the honor roll, plays soccer with a fierceness that surprises everyone, and volunteers at the local shelter with Michael. She still carries her one-eyed bear sometimes, not because she needs it, but because it reminds her of how far she's come. Angela is part of their lives now, 2 years sober, working at a recovery center helping other mothers. She has supervised visits with Ruby, and while she'll never regain custody, that door is closed, Michael ensures Ruby knows her mother's love. Your mom loved you enough to let you go, and we love you enough to never let go. The garage that started it all has been transformed. Michael added a small heated room with beds, supplies, and that same smiley face sticker on the door. It's officially registered as an emergency family shelter. It's never had to be used for overnight stays, but sometimes struggling families stop by. They know they'll find help without judgment, tools fixed for free, groceries that mysteriously appear, and connections to resources they didn't know existed. Above the door hangs a sign Ruby painted in art class. Sometimes angels work in garages. The impact has rippled far beyond their family. Inspired by Ruby's story, Millbrook started a program called No Child Outside. It ensures that any child in crisis has immediate safe placement within the community while longer-term solutions are found. In 3 years, they've helped 47 children. Dorothy, now 73, came out of retirement to help run the program. Ruby lit a fire in this old heart, showed me I still had work to do.
If you're watching this and you've ever wondered if one act of kindness really matters, let me tell you what Michael says when people call him a hero, because his response might just change how you see the world. People keep saying, "I saved Ruby," Michael says, watching his daughters play in the backyard. Ruby teaching Selena to do a cartwheel while both of them laugh at their failed attempts. But they've got it backward. That night, I was just existing, going through the motions, working, parenting, sleeping, repeat. I was a good father to Selena, but I'd forgotten how to truly live after losing Lauren. He pauses, his voice getting thick. Ruby didn't just knock on my garage door. She knocked on the door I'd closed around my heart. She reminded me that family isn't just about who you lose. It's about who you choose to love. Selena was drowning in grief she couldn't express. I was drowning in responsibility I couldn't escape. And then this little girl showed up, thinking she only deserved a corner of a garage. And somehow, in trying to convince her she deserved more, we all found what we were missing. So no, I didn't save Ruby. We saved each other. That's what family does. Last month, Ruby won an essay contest at school. The topic was My Hero. Everyone expected her to write about Michael, but she surprised them all. She wrote about Selena. My hero is my sister Selena, Ruby read aloud, at the school assembly, Michael recording with tears streaming down his face. The night I showed up, at her house, scared and alone,
She didn't have to share her dad. She didn't have to share her room, her toys, or her life. But she looked at me, a stranger who was taking her dad's attention, and she gave me her most precious possession, the unicorn that helped her through her mom's death. She gave me Princess Sparkle and said, "For the bad dreams." She didn't even know me, but she wanted to protect me. That's a hero. Someone who gives you their comfort when they need it too. Someone who makes room in their heart when there's barely room for their own pain. My sister Selena taught me that love isn't divided when you share it. It multiplies. Selena, now 10, stood up in the audience and ran to the stage, hugging Ruby fiercely. "You're my hero too," she shouted, not caring that everyone was watching. "You made our family whole." Think about that for a moment. A little girl who believed she only deserved to sleep in a garage ended up healing an entire family's grief. A community that might never have come together, united around a child in need. A mother's desperate decision led to her daughter finding the very family she'd prayed for. Sometimes the most beautiful gardens grow from the darkest soil. Sometimes the very thing that breaks us is what allows the light to enter. Today, if you drive through Millbrook, Ohio, you might see a modest 2-story house with a garage that has a smiley face sticker on the door. You might see 2 girls playing in the yard, their laughter mixing like they've been sisters forever. You might see a man working in that garage fixing someone's car for free, while an elderly woman hands out cookies to neighborhood kids. You might not know that this is the house where love proved stronger than abandonment, where kindness proved more powerful than protocol, where a community learned that sometimes the answer to, "Can I sleep in your garage?" isn't just, "No, you'll sleep in the house." Sometimes the answer is, "You'll sleep in our hearts, and we'll never let you go." Ruby still remembers every detail of that night. The rain, the cold, the fear that maybe even the garage was too much to ask for. She remembers the moment the door opened and Michael's face went from confusion to concern to determination in the span of a heartbeat. "I knew he was safe," she says now. "Not because of the smiley face sticker, though that helped. I knew because when he saw me, he looked scared for me, not scared of me. Every other adult I'd seen that day looked at me like I was a problem. He looked at me like I was a person." Angela watches her daughter from a careful distance now. Clean for 3 years, she works at a recovery center, sharing her story with other mothers fighting the same demons she once faced. She sees Ruby once a month, supervised visits that Michael not only allows, but encourages. "I don't deserve his grace," she says. "I abandoned my baby, left her with $5 and a lie. But Michael tells me that redemption isn't about deserving it, it's about accepting it and doing better. He lets me be part of Ruby's life even though I gave up the right to be her mother. He says Ruby deserves to know she was always loved, even when I was too sick to show it properly." During their last visit, Ruby asked Angela why she chose that particular gas station. Angela's answer broke and healed hearts in equal measure. "I'd been watching him for weeks, baby. Every evening, he'd play with Selena outside, teaching her to ride that bike, pushing her on the swing, sitting on the porch reading stories with different voices for each character. I knew I was failing you. I knew the drugs had won. But I also knew that if I could just get you close enough to him, maybe you'd find what I couldn't give you. Maybe you'd find a daddy who'd never leave." Ruby hugged her biological mother then, forgiveness flowing like water. "You were sick, Mom, not bad, sick, and you loved me enough to let me go. That took courage." This story could have ended so differently. It could have ended with a little girl sleeping in a garage, or worse, never finding shelter at all. It could have ended with a system too overwhelmed to care, a community too busy to notice, a man too wrapped in his own grief to open his door. But it didn't. It ended with adoption papers signed and a judge crying. It ended with a community program that saved dozens of children. It ended with a family of 4, Michael, Selena, Ruby, and honorary Grandma Dot, proving that love isn't limited by blood or birth certificates. Most importantly,
It ended with a little girl who once thought she only deserved a garage, learning that she deserved the world.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if you said yes when everything in you wanted to say, "This isn't my problem"? Have you thought about the doors, literal or metaphorical, that knock in your life, asking for just a corner of your garage? Maybe it's time to open them, because sometimes the very person you think you're saving is actually the one who's come to save you. Michael still works in that garage most evenings, but now he's rarely alone. Ruby and Selena do homework at the workbench he cleared for them. Dorothy stops by with dinner. The neighborhood kids know they can come by if they need help with anything. Broken bikes, broken hearts, broken homes. That smiley face sticker is faded now, sun-bleached and peeling at the edges. Selena offered to replace it, but Ruby said no. "It's perfect the way it is," she insisted. "It's the smile that saved me. You don't fix something that's already perfect, even if it looks a little worn." Last week, another knock came at the garage door. This time it was a teenage boy, 17, kicked out by parents who couldn't accept who he loved. Michael found him shelter, connected him with resources, and made sure he knew that garages weren't for sleeping, they were for fixing things, and sometimes that included hearts. You'd be surprised how many people just need someone to say, "You matter," Michael says. That's what Ruby taught us. She taught us that when someone asks for the bare minimum, like sleeping in a garage, you don't give them the minimum. You give them everything you've got. The Brenner family still lives in that same house. They've had offers to tell their story to bigger audiences, maybe even a movie deal, but they've turned them all down. Our story isn't special because it's unique. It's special because it could happen anywhere. Any one of us could be the person who opens the door. Any one of us could be the person who needs it opened. The point isn't to make us famous. The point is to make kindness common. But perhaps the most beautiful part of this story is what Ruby said last week when a new foster child at school asked her if she ever wished things had been different, that her biological mom had never left her at that gas station. Ruby thought for a long moment before answering. If my story had been different, if my mom hadn't been sick, if she'd never left me at that station, I would never have knocked on that garage door. Selena would still be sad about losing her mom. Michael would still be just going through the motions. Grandma Dot would be sitting alone in her house. Our community wouldn't have started the program that's helped so many kids. She paused, wisdom beyond her years, shining in her eyes. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the door to the best thing. I'm not grateful for the pain, but I'm grateful for where it led me. I'm grateful for the garage with the smiley face, and the man who said, "You're not sleeping in any garage," and the sister who gave me her unicorn, and the grandma who taught me to make cookies and believe in love. My story started with abandonment, but it's not an abandonment story. It's a choosing story. It's about the night a community chose love, and a family chose me, and I chose to believe I was worth more than a corner in a garage.
If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can change everything, then maybe share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere, right now, there's a Michael who doesn't know he's about to become someone's hero. There's a Ruby who doesn't know she's about to find her family. There's a Selena who doesn't know her heart is about to grow bigger. And there's a community that doesn't know it's about to discover what it's truly capable of. The garage door is knocking. The only question is, will you open it? Michael Brenner did, and his answer didn't just stun everyone who heard about it. It changed lives. It saved lives. It created a family where there had only been broken pieces. It proved that sometimes when a poor girl asks a single dad if she can sleep in his garage, the answer isn't just no. The answer is, you're home. 3 years later, that little girl who knocked on a garage door stands tall, confident, loved. She plays soccer with fierce determination. She makes honor roll with proud consistency. She volunteers at the shelter with compassionate understanding. She loves with her whole heart because she learned that love isn't something you have to earn by making yourself small. And every night, when Michael checks on his daughters, yes, he still checks 3 times. Old habits die hard. He finds them in the same room they chose to share. Ruby on the top bunk, Selena on the bottom, Princess Sparkle standing guard on the nightstand between them. Sometimes they're whispering about school. Sometimes they're planning pranks on Dad. Sometimes they're just breathing in sync. 2 sisters who found each other in the most unlikely way.